It was a dark and stormy night when we found the devil was in the details. Wait, but so was a deer in a top hat and a raccoon in a clown costume. Why don't we just make the cards, what's going on here? Hey, it's Carrie at Ink Kill Revival, and we're on the 4th episode, final episode of the Spooktacular Series. This is where we're making Halloween cards with 0 Halloween supplies. If you missed the first 3 episodes, they're linked below. But today's tutorial is all about using itty-bitty details to Halloweenify any stamp. I'm also going to share some Misty tips, like stamping off edge and really maximizing the tiny stamping space within your Misty. Let's get started making these Halloween party animals. The first order of business was finding enough animals. So I went through my stash and found some Lawn Fawn and Avery Elle animal stamps. I'm using Into the Woods and For You Dear from Lawn Fawn and Ellie from Avery Elle. This card design has a bunch of animals hanging off the edge, so I need to pull out my Misty Creative Corners here and build the corner towards the center. Now I can tuck my paper into a corner, but yet still have room for all of the stamps to hang off the edge within the Misty. Now that I'm ready to stamp, I can just pull off the Misty Creative Corners and I am totally open to put my stamps there. These animals are ready, so I am closing the door of my Misty and pressing down to pick them all up. Now I love using the Misty in a situation like this because I can get the placement just right. You saw how I had to be quite finicky and push those animals around back and forth until they were all placed. Misty lets you do that. Now I'm getting ready to heat emboss these. I am inking them up with Versamark ink. I'm covering that sticky ink with some Hero Arts white embossing powder. And this is in preparation to melt with my heat tool. We'll get that great high contrast white and black look. Pulling the Misty back out. I've got a couple more tips to share. So right here, I am trying to place my paper where the stamped animals will not stamp on top of it. This gives me the flexibility to leave those animals on the Misty, but yet stamp a whole new portion of the card. So right here, I'm laying out Halloween in letters from the W+9 Whimsy Alphas, which I love. I love the dies, I love the stamps. And I wanted to leave those animals on because I'm planning to come back and stamp a birthday card with those animals later. And I don't know, once I lay all those stamps out, I'm kind of attached to them being there and I want to use them after all the work. So this trick, you can keep a card going and do a new card at the same time. Pulling out the Misty Creative Corners again. This is a ruler that comes with that pack, and I love how it helps you get your letters nice and straight in a situation like this, or sentiments. As I close the door of the Misty, this is when I realize, oh shoot, I forgot to put on the little sentiments. So now it's time to backtrack and figure out how to get those on there. Phew! Next time I make this mistake, I'm just going to use some acrylic blocks. I'm pulling out the Post-it tape here. I'm just using a small portion of that Happy Mother's Day stamp, just the happy. So I need to cover up Mother's Day so that when I ink it up, I don't get ink on that portion. I waited to use the anti-static powder tool until I was completely done arranging the stamps. That way I'm not touching the paper after the fact. I'm using Versamark ink again because we'll be doing the same white heat embossing. Now after I've inked this up, I'm going to come in with a wet wipe and see right there that connection point. I'll wipe it off. Because we are stamping so high up on the Misty, if any ink gets on there, it'll get on your paper. I have personal experience with this. So as I open the door, I see I do not have quite enough coverage, so thank goodness again for the Misty. I'll add more ink and double stamp it. I committed to myself that I would get it this time. Watch me go. Success! Loading that Versamark ink up again with Hero Arts White embossing powder. Using a small paintbrush to knock away some of the embossing powder that still stuck. Woohoo! We're moving on from embossing. These are the Alexandra Ranke face supply dies, and I'm running them through my die cut machine to cut out some Orange Recollections 65-pound cardstock. So those die cuts were full of black in them already, so my son likes to put die cuts back into the die cuts. You know how you spend all that time popping them out? Well, I get to do it twice. Now it's time to dress up our animals. So I have a Lawn Fawn glue tube here that I'm using to attach the different costumes to the animals. Now, you're gonna see me fumble along here with this glue. What I should have used and what I'm gonna tell you to use is Sakura Quickie glue pen. It's nice, like a ballpoint pen tip. You can use it on those tiny sunglasses. Anyways, learn from my mistake. These dies are great. They're usually just the right size to use on your standard stamped image. Occasionally, if they're too big, like right here, I'm just going to take that bow tie and cut it down so it's just the right size. And I'll do the same thing with the crown. So always think outside the box and how you can modify what you have to make it work. Although, I did have one modification that went south really fast. I was just trying to make a unicorn with those cute unicorn eyes and unicorn horn. It looked like an evil demon. I skipped that costume. I realized my mistake there right at the end, so here's the Quickie glue pen. Let me show you how wonderfully it would have worked. Ta-da! I'm using some double-sided tape and applying it to my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. And this is that dreaded moment where you run out of tape. But no worries, I had more, and I had a husband that I always make refill my tape. So I'm just pressing on that front panel onto the card base, and we have a completed Happy Halloween from all of us crazy dressed up animal card. Well, I've had so much fun stretching my brain and my supplies on this Spooktacular card series. I hope you have too. I'd love to see what you make this week, so please post it to your social and tag Ink Hill Revival. Have a great week.